Okay, so here are the rails, and here is our show.
Completely off. Completely gone today. What in the world? Derailed.
Yay, you're here. Welcome to the CK and GK podcast. Let's get going.
It's Tuesday!
Yay! You're here! We're so glad.
Yay! Welcome to CK and GK. We're the how-to show that's going to tell you how to do the things that you were afraid to do or ask the questions that we weren't too embarrassed to ask on your behalf.
Right, or just how to just be a functioning human. Although I'm really not the best person to ask for that advice.
Yeah, I don't know if people want to come to me for advice on that.
I don't think they want to come
I
to me
have
for that.
made it all the way to 38, though. That's pretty impressive.
That is impressive. I'll take that.
That'd be good. All right, so today I'm with Caitlin, who we're going to rename Condiment because talking to her is my jam.
Oh, that was cute. I like that one. Oh, talking to her is my jam. And thus a podcast was born, right? It's pretty much how that came down. All right, well, she loves to sing. She loves chicken. She's a fabulous interior designer. And her physical comedy is often compared to that of Lucille Ball. Grace Adler from Grace Adler Designs from Will and Grace is here.
Wow!
I know!
And my hair is just as fabulous as hers.
I mean,
as it's 2 days dirty and in my 10-year-old's scrunchie.
Nice. She does have fabulous hair, doesn't she? Even in the early episodes when she's like, when they haven't totally figured out her style and she's not super fashionable and Karen makes fun of her all the time. I guess that's really everything.
Still.
She still does that, doesn't she?
The hair was still the hair.
Oh yeah, it's fabulous hair. You know that episode, there's one where she's married to Leo and they go to the cabin and Leo's cabin up in the woods or something, and she thinks that there's a picture of her on the mantle and it's Rita Hayworth. She's comparing herself to Rita Hayworth. It's very funny. Anyway, that's a great show. It didn't age well, but it's still a great show.
Oh, well, so much of our childhood didn't.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
Throwback to another episode when we were talking about who our teenage crushes were. Mm-hmm. And mine was Fred Savage.
So embarrassing.
Okay, so I looked him up and I'm like, oh, cool. He just got fired from the Wonder Years reboot because he's had issues with harassment.
You're kidding.
And apparently, this is not the first time he's been fired from something because of issues.
Gross. What a disappointment.
I know.
Ugh.
So I'm changing my answer to Michael J. Fox, who really has been my one true love since I was a child.
That's a legit worthy crush. I see no problems with that one. Back to the Future.
Even when I was a little girl, I used to ask my mom, can we watch Alex?
Yeah.
Talking about Alex P. Keaton.
Yeah. And he was on, was it Spin City? Was that the name of the show?
Spin City? Mm-hmm. He was great on Spin City. He was the deputy mayor taking care of Barry Bostwick.
Mm-hmm. I really, really enjoy him. And he just seems like an all-around decent human being. I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. Well, and he records all his own audiobooks, so when you listen to his work, it's him reading it so good.
That's really nice. I like that. Okay. So this week,
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to give a shout out to Nefarious Nightmare. They're one of our buddy shows, and we're going to have their promo in our episode today. So thank you to Nefarious Nightmare for being a supporter, and stay tuned for that promo later on. Are we ready to talk sports?
Yes, let's do it. Today is the MLB trade deadline. So if you're listening in the morning, you have until 6 p.m. Eastern to finalize your roster. If you happen to be an MLB manager
you totally
and
own
listen
an
to our
MLB team, and you are the manager of the team, and sweet Moses, smelly roses. All right.
Oh, okay, but what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
So typically this is July the 31st, but you guys remember back in the springtime we were talking about how, quote, the millionaires and the billionaires couldn't figure out how to get along, and there was an MLB lockout and all of this business. So the season started a little late, and so In the negotiations, they allowed until August 3rd to be the deadline. They chose the 2nd at 6 p.m.
Okay.
So because of the postseason expansion, that means there's more teams going into the playoffs,
right? We talked about that, I think. Yeah.
Right. We did. This means that the deadline is very important to watch. And one of the things I'm linking in the show notes, if you care to read about it, is one player from each of the teams in the league to watch tonight and see what moves are made or not before 6 p.m. So that's an article that you can read at your leisure if it's something you're interested in. If not, just watch the evening news tonight or, pop on SportsCenter and see what trades were made today. Mm-hmm. We have a saying in baseball that April doesn't matter until October. So we're going to see what happens going into the playoffs, what trades were made, and what the teams are looking like going into August, preparing for the playoffs in October.
That's pretty exciting. There's usually a lot of big shifts that sort of happen in that day, like that final day. People still don't know what's going to go down. So that's
there's players who don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
they're still waiting to find out. Right.
So my update, and this is going to be a little old by the time we release this episode, but in case you didn't know, we talked about CONCACAF in the last episode, women's CONCACAF, and it was USA v. Canada, and the U.S. won. Good for Alex Morgan. I know Alex Morgan
USA,
killing
USA.
it. So now officially the U.S. qualifies for the 2024 Olympics in Paris and Women's World Cup in 2024 as well.
Or should I say Trey Cool?
I'm sure the Parisians would totally say it that way. The other one is Women's Euro. It's still going on as of this recording. Just a quick little update because it's going to be so different by the time this comes out. But in the quarterfinals, we've got England, Austria, Germany, Spain, Sweden, Netherlands, France, and Belgium. And those quarterfinal games are all happening as we speak. So by the time this airs, there'll be some movement there. We'll know what's going on.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well,
I moved some things around.
We
today.
moved something around. Like, I had to pause because normally we go into the gems, but this says on the sheet that we're going to obsessions first.
Personally, for me, it feels like we're building towards it, so I'm okay with it staying this way, but I needed to do this.
In.
Okay, I needed to do this for what's happening in my life, but I want to hear what you're obsessed with right now.
I'm totally in.
Okay, great.
I love it. Let's make this a permanent move.
Okay, I can be down.
Listeners, if it really bothers you so much, tweet
us.
Yes,
send me a DM.
For real,
I'm sure you're going to care so much. I can't believe they changed the format.
It's exactly the same material, but in a different order.
Ew. Okay, go for it.
All right, so, which would matter if you, had to have breakfast for lunch.
Right.
And lunch for breakfast.
Right.
It would matter.
Yeah, this is a matter of 5 minutes. I think people will be fine.
How disappointing if every morning you woke up to a frozen lean cuisine.
Ew.
I mean, that's a disappointing lunch to begin with, but you accept
it's so
it.
Sad looking. Oh, it used to be okay. It's just no longer okay for me anymore.
All right. Well, today I am obsessed with Grownup first because today is the anniversary of my first real date with my husband.
Aww.
And I was just thinking how fun it was to experience all of that in my 30s and kind of be over the drama. Whoever said Orange is the New Pink was seriously disturbed. And whoever said that doing this in your 20s is the great idea was seriously disturbed.
Yeah.
30s are the new 20s.
Nice. That makes me feel so much better. First of all, congratulations. That's very exciting. I've not been in the dating scene in nearly 20 years. I've been with my husband.
I mean, I love that you congratulated me. I only know because Facebook told me. It's not something I remember.
So it's not like you guys are going to have a date or something to celebrate?
Oh, we recreate it? No, please. That's what you do when you're in your 20s. In your 30s, you're like, hey, Facebook said we kissed the first time tonight. What do you think about it? You want to try it again tonight? No? Okay.
Your coffee breath is really, really setting the mood for me right now.
Exactly.
That's funny. having never dated in my 20s, I mean, we went on dates, but we by the time I was like solidly in my 20s, we had already been dating. Like we started, we started dating right before I turned 21. So I hear this drama and I'm just like, I don't even know how I would approach that in my life. So, you know, anytime someone gives me dating stuff, I'm just like, more power to you. I don't get it. And what alcohol do you need me to serve you? Because it sounds like a nightmare. Like, what can I do to be supportive? But that's really cool.
And what chocolate can I pair with it?
M&Ms go really well with a lot. Just putting that out there.
I was just going to say, I'm a Baby Ruth and white wine.
That's pretty amazing. I wouldn't have thought of that combination, but I'm into it. All right. So this is going to sound so first world problem-ish. And I fully am aware that what I'm about to say makes me sound very spoiled. But
you know what? By saying it, it's okay.
I'm acknowledging the fact that I'm spoiled. A while back, I told you that I have a problem with the Amazon treasure truck. And the problem is that the Amazon treasure truck presents me with items that I obviously need to have in my life. And then I purchase them. Well, a few months back, maybe like early May, the Amazon treasure truck item was an above ground pool. And I was like, hey.
What's up, summertime? After COVID is crazy, and then it gets crazy again, and now you have a pool?
Exactly. So you have to maintain an above ground pool similarly to how you would an in-ground pool. You have to put the chemicals in.
More.
It's so much work. Okay. So
way more.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I didn't know that. One of my friends had one for her son a couple years ago, and she was like, oh yeah, you just dump some chlorine in there once a week, it's no big deal. And I was like, oh, cool. Now, I need to say, this is one
that's not it.
No, it's not it. And she's a very chill person, and some things get to her, but most stuff just appears to roll right off her back. I've been trying to maintain it. Well, I went to New Orleans, and while I was in New Orleans, it poured here. And the above ground pool was covered, but it has
it didn't rain at our house at all.
I heard that. I heard it didn't rain.
I live I'm not even kidding, maybe 17 miles from you.
Yeah, it's not far.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's not far.
And it poured here.
With Austin traffic considered, I can be to your house in 22 minutes. I don't understand why you got rain and we didn't.
Well, and I wasn't here, so it's not like I personally got the rain.
No, it's your fault.
So I came back, and the pool, which had been covered, it has holes in the cover just to allow for some ventilation, so rainwater got in it, which is bad for your pool. Well, then as soon as we got back and I was going to start to maintain the pool, I got sick with COVID and I was down for 10 days. So
Wait, you had COVID?
Yeah, I did. Do you not remember?
Hey, listeners, have you not listened to the last 3 episodes?
Or seen any of my tweets? That's all I talk about, apparently. Hey, I feel like I dodged it for so long, and then...
No, you win, for sure.
I think my husband wins, but still.
It's called BA5.
Yeah.
Is the name of this variant that's out right now. And I think it's more catching than the Omicron.
It is. We know that for sure. And this is a sub-variant of Omicron. And the fact that you haven't gotten
Oh my God. Don't say sub-variant.
That's what it is.
I can't hear that. I cannot hear that.
I'm going to be the scientist today. I win science. So...
I win science.
Yes, I do. I win all the science. And also, how have you not gotten sick? I don't understand. I hope you don't. It's horrible. That said, I came back outside to my above ground pool green. Green on the sides, green on the bottom, green in the water.
Okay, so even if I didn't have COVID, I might be puking if I looked at that pool.
It was disgusting. And my poor husband was like, I can't. He's like, I just can't anymore. This is your idea. I mean, he didn't say that, but he was just like, I can't do this anymore. And he really did throw his hands up. Yeah. Oh yeah, I took from it this is your thing. You wanted this. Don't put it on me. It's all you. So.
And I have been raising our child alone for 10 days.
It was more like 14 because I was in New Orleans for the 4 days before that.
This is true.
So I was like, okay, I will happily take this on. And, I have this, anxiety urge to clean. So when I finally decided to go out there and take care of it, I have now become the person who, needs to go check it all the time. So I'll go for my walk in the morning, and then I'll go out to the backyard, and I'll just start scooping the leaves out and trying to maintain it. Well, I have managed to get it almost perfect. And after a week of me, like, playing with my pool chemistry set, trying to figure out what the heck you put in next, and I have a bone to pick with all of the people who sell pool chemicals, because none of you say, like, what exactly the label is that you need to, and how much to dump in. You have to figure it out based on ratios and crap like that. So,
do you know that you can bring your pool water to a pool store and they will tell you?
Yes, I did know that because I did that this afternoon. And I was actually incredibly proud of myself because, as I said, I killed off all the algae. I know how to backwash the filter. I've been doing such a good job maintaining this pool, like just getting it to be almost there. And I brought it in and he was like, oh, you just need to dump in this one thing. And I was like, no. This one thing? And then I'm there. And he was like,
just one thing.
And he was like, and then you're there. So my obsession right now is just getting this pool, no swear words, we're not swearing, getting this pool back up to snuff so that my child, who is now ill, can get into it over the weekend when he finally feels better. So that's been my thing. And it looks actually really, really good. And in a few hours, I'm going to go back there and put in the other thing that he wants. And then we're good. Hopefully.
Okay, so, you know my parents have an in-ground pool now.
Yes.
But since my dad was like a teen, he has always had an above-ground pool or like a little kiddie pool in the backyard. Yeah. We had a hot tub when we lived in Washington State.
Nice.
Like, it makes sense there because it gets cold.
Right.
But the way my dad tests the pool chemistry is the traditional way of scooping up water and using the test kit.
Yeah.
Plus, scooping water up with both hands like he's, what's that chick in my cousin Vinny's wedding? Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, Marissa Tomei.
So he scoops it up like he's Marissa Tomei pretending to be the little deer drinking it with her little lips.
Yeah.
And splashes it on his face.
What if it's like full of toxins and he's just gonna put it on his face?
And he lies to us and he's like, oh, I'm just smelling it. We're like, no. You are tasting that water. You are putting it on your skin. You are like huffing that water, Dad. Like we are.
Chlorine. Oh
and
my gosh.
he has done that as long as I can tell.
That's hysterical.
Now, they have a pool guy for their in-ground pool, and I'm not even kidding you. The guy comes, and my dad's hanging out there with him.
Of course he is. That's such a dad thing to do.
You know those commercials, like, we can help you not become your parents?
Yeah, those are my favorite commercials.
Okay, so the guy who wrote these commercials studied my dad for a month.
He hangs out talking to
the pool guy comes, and my dad is following him around. Yeah. I'm like, and the guy's like, so is everything okay? And he's, oh, yeah. I just want to watch you work. And he's like, well, normally I do this by myself. Like, but yeah, so next time you're hanging with my dad, Caitlin, you should get him to teach you how to do the sniff test.
Even though I'm a math teacher who used to teach ratios, I am losing my mind over this thing, but it's become now the thing that I'm fixating on, and I will get this pool back together if it kills me.
We've all seen the meme, no math is harder than toilet paper math. Maybe it should be revised to say, no math is harder than pool math.
Treatment math. Oh, I'm so mad. But it's like, I will get this. And it feels, I'm going to have really good arms by the time the summer's over because I'm like, you know, rowing the net to try and get all the leaves out, and it's not easy, and it's so I'm going to be buff, and I'm going to finally pass high school chemistry by the time because I failed it. So I didn't fail it. I got low C's, which is not good for me, but still, I'll get there. I will figure it out. But go. Tell us your gems.
Okay, so I told you I've started my new job, and I'm loving it.
Good.
I've definitely found my nerd people.
Yes, you did.
And we are hosting a giant conference this week. Sorry, I had to burp.
Please, Lord, leave that in. Oh, my God.
Oh, I will.
Thank you.
So we're hosting a giant conference this week. You know, like almost 100 teachers are coming to this thing.
That's a lot, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
It's a lot. And I'm just so impressed with the vocabulary of all of my coworkers. They just speak on such a higher level than I do. And at one point, someone this week asked me a question. I didn't even know what he was asking me, let alone what the answer was. And so I was saying this to my sitter one morning when I dropped Kid off. And she has like 5 or 6 kids that she keeps from age 6 weeks until they go off to preschool or kindergarten, man. Right?
Yeah.
And this is her gig. She's done it for 20-something years.
Amazing.
She kept Abby, too. We love her.
Right.
But, I'm telling her this. I said, I have this weird imposter syndrome, and I know that they really want me there, and so I just need to expand my vocabulary and learn these words and figure out how to talk like these people talk. But I really don't know what they're saying some of the time. And she goes, oh, just read their body language and try and figure it out. I do it all day.
Wait, what? Because she's talking to 6-year-olds?
She works with toddlers.
Is she really comparing your math colleagues to toddlers? Oh, that's
it felt
funny.
so good. I was like, yes, you're right. There's no difference.
No, there's no difference.
I might be the toddler in this situation, but...
Right. I would have to say, this is why I talk about vocabulary so much, because it means so much to people. If they can't understand what you're saying, you're excluding them from the conversation.
Talked about that.
I know. All the time we talk about it.
No. We talked about it at work.
Oh, you did?
We talked about how vocabulary is an entry point to mathematics.
Yes, absolutely.
I am talking about we are having conversations over lunch, and they're just asking, like, small talk questions, and they ask it in such an elevated way that I don't know what they're asking me. I'm gonna get smarter!
Oh, thankfully. I feel like that regularly with work. Like, I heard someone use an acronym, and I have like a running list of acronyms now that someone will use it, and I'll write it down real quick, and then I go look it up like immediately so that I can understand what the heck they're talking about. And I'm learning a lot by doing that, but you do feel kind of dumb for a little bit until you figure out what the word actually means. But
oh my gosh, speaking of acronyms, have you seen this TikTok where the girl refers to the band by NSYNC? I
can't. I think I put that in our Instagram story. If you're spelling out in sync, you need to take a step back. Just go sit down. Lie down before you hurt yourself. You're too little. Go away. Okay, so I told you that I am obsessed with pool maintenance right now. So before we did this recording, I was commenting, these are the things I did this afternoon to my husband. I said, I went to the pool place and I got some advice on how to fix the water in the pool. And then I went to the grocery store, I picked up the groceries, and then I immediately put the groceries down, went to go put the chemicals in the pool so that I could check it before I went to bed tonight and all that stuff. And then tried to come in and put the groceries away so that I could then prepare for our show. And the universe had other plans for me. And as I was saying to my husband, the water looks really good. I'm actually really proud of myself. I pick up the paper bag from the grocery store that had my glass jar of cold brew coffee, and the handle on the bag broke off and slammed into the floor, and there was coffee inside the paper bag leaking all over the place with broken glass. Yep, my finger is cut. You can't see it because it's little, but it hurts. It's like a little tiny like glass nick. And
don't say you can't see it. People cannot see the radio.
I said you can't.
Look at this cut. I had to get 7 stitches.
Feel sorry for me.
It's actually amputated.
I no longer have the tip of my finger. Anyway.
It cut me at the arm. Right, I'm actually losing my entire limb.
Stupid coffee jug. So I am livid, like raging, because I'm just like, this is why I can't have nice things, right? Like I can't celebrate the fact that I brought the pool back from the brink of having to drain it and start all the way over.
Right. You went from jades to diamonds.
I mean, really, and then I come inside and I start to say, I've actually done something. I'm kind of proud of myself. And then I just ruin it by dropping a glass jug of coffee all over. And then I'm putting it in a plastic bag to try and like catch the liquid so it doesn't just spread out all over the floor. And somehow the glass in the paper bag cuts the plastic bag. So then that bag starts to leak. I had to triple bag this stupid paper bag full of coffee. I have never been angrier. And I was like, what genius decided to put a glass jug in a paper bag? Because the paper bag handle's always ripped, right? We all know that happens.
Okay.
But then...
Can I stop you for just a second and say that all I have is Jerry Seinfeld's voice in my ear? Like, who are the marketing geniuses who figured out that one?
So then my son decides he's going to show no empathy. And he goes, well, you dropped it.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
that is correct.
And that is when Jesus had to take the wheel because I was losing my mind. And I did not swear at him, but it took every fiber of
out
my
loud.
being. Oh, yeah, no, it was in my head for sure. I was just like, can you just please show a little bit of kindness? Like, my eyes bugging out of my head like some sort of cartoon in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, losing my mind over this. And I was just like, this is why I can't have nice things. This is the reason. This is why. So, all that to say, the universe wins this week. I am done. Like, I can't. I'm out. I got nothing.
Tag out.
I got nothing. I'm out. And
okay,
that's it.
Well, you said something.
Yeah.
You said that you had some thoughts in your head.
Uh-huh.
And that made me think of something else that's going on in my family right now.
Okay.
Okay, so the listeners who have children may empathize with the phase that we're going through right now.
Tell me.
My child is...
He's 3, yes?
He's 3.
3 is the worst.
He's 3. Oh, he's the worst.
3 is the worst.
He's the best,
he's
the
right.
super
right.
worst.
They're the best and they're the worst.
Oh, yeah.
But 3 is the worst.
But we are going through the I'm obsessed with the song phase.
Oh, Lord, what song?
Okay, so we did the Baby Shark thing.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah,
we did that.
Sure.
And Abigail loved Bad Blood by Taylor Swift. I think she still loves it.
I mean, it's catchy.
But the song that Kit, the 3-year-old boy, is obsessed with right now is in my head.
Oh, no.
It's Zombie by the
Stop
Cranberries.
it. I would love it. I'm hearing Andy Bernard.
In your head!
Oh, Dolores O'Riordan. R.I.P. girl. I love her.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
even gonna
Every
pretend
time
I
we get in the
love
car.
the Cranberries.
Can you put on the zombie song?
Yeah.
Can you put on the zombie song?
So Sam likes that song too, and you might recall when I brought the last time I was up at your house, which is like seriously forever ago at this point. But there was one point where I was up there around Halloween, and I was playing the Halloween mix that Spotify puts together, and Zombie.
Please tell me that's on
there.
there.
Zombie's on it. And Sam's like, what is this song about? And I was like, well, it's called Zombie, and that's why it's on the Halloween list. And he was like, okay. And he really likes it too. I don't think he's heard it again since then, but I love the Cranberries. I won't even pretend I don't. I love it.
I do too. Until
you've heard Zombie for the 156th time in one day.
Right. I have listened to every cover of Zombie I can find, so at least it's not the same version every time.
Yeah. I get that. There are worse things to be obsessed with, but you poor thing. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, no, please. And I will say, given Baby Shark or Zombie...
there's a clear winner.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, there's a clear winner. For sure.
It's in my head.
In your head. Now I want to watch Dairy Girls. Okay, moving on. We're going to talk about... We're going to move on.
Oh, wait, we have to learn something?
Yeah, we have to learn something. We just spent the first half of the show talking about nothing. I think that's our usual thing, though, right? Yeah.
All right. Y'all know CK and GK love to support fellow indie podcasts. So here's another show you might really love.
Hey, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Amanda.
And this is A Nefarious Nightmare.
We cover true crime and the paranormal. We raise awareness about the senseless acts committed against victims. We won't go easy on the offenders, but show serious empathy to the victims.
And sometimes we dive into some weird topics outside of true crime, like the paranormal or even conspiracy theories.
Our listeners are definitely the best, and we are their biggest fans.
So join us. Come on in. All are welcome. Let's dive into these cases. You can find us on any podcast platform and on YouTube. Be sure to find us, hit subscribe, and share us with your friends.
We do have great life advice, such as don't be a Richard.
Yes. And wear deodorant. We don't want to smell you.
But all are welcome to a nefarious nightmare.
So last week we talked about soccer vocabulary, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to go over some of the rules of soccer today.
And I'm still going to ask my questions because I know nothing about soccer.
Okay, that's totally
Except
fair.
what you taught me last week.
Yeah. You remember any of it? We're going to find out.
I do.
Okay.
I know the pitch is the field.
Good.
I know the goalie can use their hands.
That's true.
I know that there's a difference between the goalie throwing it in and the corner throwing it in.
That's a kick. But yes, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Teachers are the worst students ever.
Really
Oh,
big difference because then one of them uses their hands
Right.
and the other one kicks
Right.
it. No big deal.
No, it's fine. It's fine. This was a mess.
I'm the worst.
Teachers are the worst students. We really are.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible. Okay,
oh,
bye.
It's fine. We're going to go over it. You'll get a refresher. Ready? Here's the structure of the game. Soccer is played in 2 45-minute halves. Okay, there's a halftime in the middle. We talked about this last week where we talked about stoppage time. Soccer uses a running clock, so the time does not stop when the play stops. But at the end of each half, you'll have that stoppage time, and that's the time that the referee adds on during each half that is supposed to make up for the time that was missed for like injuries or any other kind of stoppage. You'll see it if you're watching a game. It'll have like a little plus at the end of the half. There'll be like a little plus. It'll say like +2, +3.
I have seen that.
That's the reason. You can have a draw in soccer, so it's okay to tie at the end of a game. If it's a tournament, though, then they'll add on an overtime in which there'll be 2 15-minute periods. So it'll be like another 30 minutes gets played with 15 minutes and then a little half and then 15 minutes again. Whoever's winning at the end of that second overtime will win the game. But if it's still tied, then they'll do that penalty shootout, which we've talked about, which is where it's one person putting the ball in a specific spot. They go up against the goalie, and the goalie tries to stop the ball. And there's no one else helping the goalie. Okay? And whoever has... each team gets 5 turns to do that, and whoever has the most go in at the end of that will be the winner of that game. And if the game is still tied, then they'll do one at a time. So instead of doing 5 extra kicks, you'll just do one kick, and then see who's winning, and then one kick, and see who's winning. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's a lot.
That was really loud for me to say yes. But yes.
It was really loud for me to sniff into the microphone, too. So, whoopsie. Oh, goodness. Okay. So, in terms of positions, each team gets to have 11 players on the field at any given time. We've talked about what these positions are, but there are different formations for how you're going to line your players up. That's why foosball tables all look different, right? You might have some that have 5 and then 3 and then whatever, but it's the formation that you're playing.
That is really interesting. I had never thought about that, but thanks for telling me.
Yeah. I love foosball. I'm actually really good at it. It's one of my talents. Thanks, Dan and Arlene. They know who they are. Anyway, so all formations are going to have a forward, or they're also called strikers sometimes, but forward and striker are the same. That's that lead position that is really focused on scoring. You'll have midfielders, you'll have defenders, and a goalkeeper. If you are someone who is a forward or striker, there's a good chance you're a pretty fast person. Midfielders are typically really well-rounded. They do a lot of running if they're midfield player, because they're constantly going back and forth, and you are a good passer most likely because, again, it's your job to move the ball from the back of the pitch to the front so that you can try and score. And defenders are usually pretty good at, obviously, defending, typically playing 1-to-1. They're good at stopping attacks from opponents. The goalkeeper needs to be pretty spatially aware and be able to keep their eyes on the ball at all times. So they are allowed to do anything that they can to protect the goal from the ball, and that means using hands, whatever body parts they need to in order to make that happen.
Right.
Okay, so that's a rundown of positions. We've talked about this before, but it's still something that needs to be addressed in terms of rules and regulations, but it's this offside term. So in soccer, you cannot wait behind the defensive line of players for the ball to come to you. That's known as cherry picking, and you're not allowed to do that. So what that means is if you're offsides is saying that when you are past the ball, you have to be in front of the last defender, with the exception of the goalkeeper. So if you are on the opposing team, you cannot go further towards the goal than the last defender on the pitch. So if you are closer to the goalie than the last defender on the pitch, you are offside. But if you're not touching the ball, they're not going to call offside. If you touch the ball and you're in that position where you're closer to the goalie than the last defender, then you're offside. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's kind of like in water polo that you can't have a foul called on you if you don't have the ball.
Yeah. So the crazy thing about offsides is that it's all about timing. If you're not offside, you can be in line with that last defender. So a lot of times people will try to draw offsides, or you will get as close as you possibly can to that line of that defender, so that if you do get past the ball, then you can run with it. So if you receive a pass and you are not offsides, then you can bolt past that last defender and race towards the goal.
I see.
But if you receive that pass and you are offsides, then nothing counts from there. So you can't be offsides when you receive a pass, because then your goal won't count if you were to score. Does that make sense?
I see.
Yeah. It's a little bit, it's a little complicated, but basically offsides only happens if the player is behind that last defensive player at the moment that the ball gets passed to them and they receive it. So it leads to strategies for both sides, right? So if you are on defense, you might try to draw someone offsides by moving up a little bit so that they get caught offsides. But if you are on offense, you might just try and stay in line with that last defender so that as soon as you get it, you can dash past them, because that part's okay. The next one is fouls. So these are some of my favorites. We talked about this last week, and these are when you can get some excellent or not acting on the pitch. So there's all kinds of fouls that you can get. You could kick someone. You could trip them. You could tackle them, which is when you kind of slide into them. You could push them or side tackle, some sort of unsportsmanlike conduct. That last one in particular is sort of subjective. And I think, honestly, a lot of fouls in soccer can be subjective, because it really just depends on the perspective of the referee. If the referee doesn't see exactly what happened, or they're maybe behind the players when it happens and they don't see the intent.
But there's so many sports.
Right.
Come on, Blue.
Right. It's not super obvious all the time. You will see offside is pretty obvious, right? And there are, refs on the sidelines whose entire job is just to monitor what's happening with offside and what's happening with the sideline. So that does happen, but this foul thing is really up to the referee that's in the middle of the pitch. So it again, they can be subjective. Fouls can result in either what's called a direct or an indirect free kick, and it just depends on the severity of the penalty. So if it's a direct free kick, it can go straight into the goal. If it's an indirect free kick, then that means it has to touch someone else before it can go into the goal.
Oh.
Yeah. If a foul occurs inside that big 18-yard box, then you can get a penalty kick. which is when you have a direct free kick from that penalty spot. It is important to pay attention to fouls because they can completely change a game. And this is when you'll see like players do that thing where they kind of make a wall of players and they get real close to each other to try and block what's happening. So you'll see that happen with fouls and penalty kicks that go along with them. And along with fouls, we talked about yellow and red cards. If a foul is severe enough, a card might be issued to the player who commits that foul. I mean, it's just like a stoplight, right? It's like the red ones are bad. You need to stop what you're doing. And a yellow one is like a warning, right? So a red card is when a player makes a very dangerous or super aggressive tackle, or they deliberately foul an attacker. It's clear, it's very obvious, and it was obviously really dangerous as well. So if you receive a red card, you're immediately sent off the field. The team plays with one less player for the rest of the game. At least when I was younger, if you get red carded, there's a chance you're not playing in the next game either. So you definitely don't want to be red carded.
Red card's bad. Kind of like when we were kids and you got red in kindergarten.
You know what? I'm just going to do a sidebar. If you're doing that to kids these days, you need to stop doing that. Please don't give kids
Stop it now.
Colors. The amount of kids who are like, oh, you'll get used to being bad. Like, what? No, it's awful. And if we did that to other adults, can you imagine?
Right?
Oh, it's not okay to do that. Don't do that. If your teacher is doing that, no judgment, just please stop. Okay. You can also get red carded if you do have too many yellows. So just something to keep in mind. So we talked about this last week, but I'm going to touch on it again because it is one of those big regulations. A goal kick. A goal kick is when the ball goes out of bounds on either goal line, so either side of the goal line, and the defense has the possession of the ball. So the offense kicked the ball past the goal line, and it's now the defense's ball, and they're going to kick it from that big box outside of the little goalie box that's on the pitch. So the goalie is usually going to be the one who takes that kick, and they're going to try to pass it to a teammate who's probably further down the field. But, you know, sometimes they'll do a shorter kick, but a goal kick is when the last person who touched the ball was offense and they kicked it out behind that line where the goal is. If you have a corner is when the ball goes out of bounds on the goal line, but the defense was the last person to touch the ball. If that happens, you're going to have a player put the ball in that little, every soccer pitch has like these little arcs that are in the corners, and you're going to put the ball in there, and they're going to kick it from there and try to pass it to a teammate, and then that teammate's going to try and get the ball into the goal. So usually on a corner, that's when you'll see the area right up near the goalie gets super crowded, and they're all going to try and like just pack that box up and wait for the ball to come to them, because it's a great opportunity to score, since scoring is pretty rare in soccer. Right? Yeah.
It's coming right to them.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of scores in soccer will come from, it's called a cross. So the player will kick the ball towards the middle of the field, literally crossing the pitch. And you'll see players like jump up and try to hit a header. And that's pretty common for a goal to be scored that way. You'll see that a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. Not on, your kids' soccer
Talk
team.
about Excedrin PM.
Right? When I played, I did not ever do headers after the first 4 or 5 times, because they hurt. I wasn't doing it right, and it would hurt me. So I was okay with kind of juggling it and letting it hit my chest, my your décolletage or whatever. You like that? Neck and décolletage. So I would let it hit right there, on your chest plate. That didn't hurt me that much. But the header, I was like, no, I'm out. I will not. I stopped doing it.
No.
Yeah, it's not fun. But if you do it right, you can score on a corner. So we talked about throw-ins. If you're going to do a throw-in, it's when the ball goes out of bounds on the sidelines, and you have to throw from over your head. Yep, exactly. You cannot cross the boundary line with your feet. So, and your foot really shouldn't come up. So you'll see a lot of players, especially younger ones, they'll like drag their toes in the grass to try and make sure that their foot stays down. So I was someone who my foot would come up and they'll call you on it and they'll make you rethrow. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I used to drag my toes. You'll also see people like do a running start to try and get more power on the ball. So I think I talked about this last week, but I used to see girls when I was playing in, middle school and high school who would like flip. They would do like a running start and it looked like a handspring, like a forward handspring, and they would land on the ball and then flip forward and chuck it super far. I have no idea how people do that. It takes skill that I do not have. I am far too mediocre to do that, so I was just plain Jane dragging my foot. But you do get a lot of power if you can get a running start. So if you have enough control, you will see people do that. In terms of equipment and what you see players wearing, you can see, I mean, if you're watching professional, they're going to be wearing a lot more stuff, right? So the equipment is called their like kit, their soccer kit. You will usually see cleats and shin guards. If your kids are playing, like you're going to have to get them cleats and shin guards. I promise you're going to want those shin guards for your kid.
Unless they're playing against my kid, at which they're going to need cleat, shin guards, helmet.
The helmet would make it a lot easier to do those headers, I will say. You're going to see them the shin guards are just super helpful to, keep yourself from getting kicked by the cleat. It's not about the ball. It's about me getting kicked by the cleat that I really don't want to have happen. You will see people like checking equipment because you're not supposed to play without those things. And, every team has their own little routine for how they check equipment and all that stuff. But soccer's, in terms of sports that you sign your kid up for, if you're just introing into soccer for the first time, this is one of the least expensive ones because you're not also buying bats and other like helmets and things like that. Like, that's not to say that any of this equipment is inexpensive. I'm just saying that in terms of like what you need in order to be allowed to play, it's relatively minimal. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So in terms of what's not allowed, we've talked about this. Everyone except for the goalkeeper is forbidden from touching the ball with their hands. You can't use your arms. It's not like you can like elbow the ball. Handballs will result in penalties. You can't do things like that. You can get you can get foul kick. You can get kicks for that. That's stupid. I just said that. Anyway, you also cannot have an illegal tackle happen. So there's a lot of things that are technically illegal, but those are probably the most notable ones, is handball and illegal tackles. These sorts of rules are determined by the International Football Association board. So FIFA, who is the like soccer body, right? FIFA actually says that the IFAB, the International Football Association board, has the right to govern these rules, and they get to be the ones who standardize them. But FIFA is the one who actually gets to decide if the rules can be changed. So so they're two different things, but FIFA is FIFA's probably got more power in that situation, I would say. Okay, what else? Oh, I should talk about substitutions. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So, a substitution is when it's exactly like what you think it is when you think of your substitute in school. It's a player who is brought into the game from the bench during some time in the game. You can have, depending on the league or tournament rules, you'll either have like somewhere between 3 and 12. It just depends on the professional level of the league that you're playing in. However, in friendlies, you can have as many substitutions as you want during a game. But at the professional level, you might have, like, you only get to have 3, right? So this isn't, like, substitutions in terms of, like, how many extra players you have on the bench. This is how many times you actually get to put someone in place
swap
of
them
someone
out.
else. Yeah. And if you are, like, in high school or in friendlies or whatever, like, the younger leagues, if a substitute comes out, they can rest up and then go back in.
But you told us last week, once you're out, you're out.
But in professional leagues, if a player comes out, they cannot go back in again during that game. And if a substitution requires that a coach then alter the formation of their players during the game, that coach is very likely to be stuck with the new formation for the rest of the game.
Right.
So it's something to consider. You want to use your substitutions strategically. The clock does not stop for substitutions, so you don't want to take a long time if you're subbing in, because then you're adding additional stoppage time, which means that you are creating additional opportunities to score, because the more time you're playing, the more there can be scores happen.
I hadn't thought about it that way, about the, I guess, detriment of stoppage time.
Yeah.
That it just creates more time to score, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Because you'll see people who are, like, getting super excited, like, oh, the game's about to end. Oh, shoot, there's 5 more minutes being added on, right? So it is a big deal when that happens. You can only sub in when the ball is declared dead by the ref. So that means that the ball can't be moving around the field, and you can't be like, hey, Julie, come on. You know what I mean? You have to actually wait for the ball to stop. And then that's when the coach can alert the official, like, hey, you know, I'd like to sub in. And then you'll see people, like, holding up signs saying, you know, number 11 come out and number 18 go in, or whatever it is. So I think there's maybe one other thing I probably should address, which is the 2-touch rule. So, okay, this is one of those things that if you are playing at the lower levels, or you may not have heard of it before, but it gets talked about, so I wanted to address it. So I'm just going to read this because it'll be easier to say. The 2-touch rule in soccer applies when a player is putting the ball back into play from a dead ball situation. So this is basically when the ball is completely stationary. Direct and indirect free kicks, goal kicks, kickoffs, penalty kicks, and even throw-ins are subject to the 2-touch rule. The 2-touch rule means if a player is restarting play, they must not touch the ball more than once. Another player must touch the ball next after it's put into play. So that means that if you're the person who's restarting, you can't just, like, dribble it in, right? You can't, like...
Right.
You can't just run with it and go, haha, suckers, and then just go as far as you can. So, it's not, like, official in IFAB stuff, but it does get mentioned a lot. And anytime you violate the 2-touch rule, it does result in an indirect free kick. So you are going to want to make sure that you're paying attention to that. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like a double dribble, right? You're not allowed to do that in basketball. Right. So it's similar in that sense that you shouldn't be violating that rule. So I think...
Or in volleyball.
Tell me about it in volleyball, because I know nothing about volleyball. Like, literally nothing about
You cannot touch the ball twice when it comes to your side.
Right. Can someone else touch it and then you touch it again?
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. I literally know nothing about volleyball. The most I know is, like, watching parents play on The Office.
No. You can bump it to someone else who sets it up so you can spike it, but you cannot bump it and then grab it again and get it back over. No.
Okay. Ooh, did we talk about flopping? Have we talked about that? Did I mention what that was? I think I did, right? When you're like...
Is that the acting?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I think, so I think I'm good on that. I think I got everything. Hopefully that makes
you did so great.
Soccer a little easier to understand. I
can't wait to watch them and actually put this knowledge into play.
Yeah, it means a lot more when you actually understand, like, oh, that's why that kick is kicked by that person instead of kicked by this person and all that. So it's not a terribly complicated game in terms of watching it. Like, you kick the ball towards the goal, you try to get it into the goal. That's not hard. But there are a lot of those little, like, intricate pieces that do make a difference for why you're like, wait, why are they stopping? So just having that understanding, I think, is helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all the work you did on this.
Thank you to Rookie Road for all of your support and making sure that what I said was, I knew it, but then making sure it was accurate and put into understandable language so that you're not just sitting there trying to figure out what I'm saying, like you did with your math friends. You know, that part matters.
Right.
All right. This is the time.
All right. Well, I have to say, please, please, please touch those stars. All 5 of them. Give us a rating.
Yeah, we would
write something nice about us.
We would like that.
The only thing that beats a handwritten card is reviewing a podcast.
Sure, they're the same. Oh, dear me. All right, well,
if you write something nice about us, we'll definitely say your name on the air.
That's true. We can do that. It's not hard for you or for us. So thank you for taking the time to do it, because it means a lot to us, and it helps us get seen by the people who need to see our show. It helps. Anytime you do that, you're basically helping us get to a wider audience, which supports our show, and we greatly appreciate that. That's the reason why you're
And it gives you the ultimate bragging rights. I knew them when.
That's true. Probably most of you do know us. What do you call your listeners? Dad? I don't think my sisters are listening. Ariella, that's what I call them, right? Their game? Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, make good choices.
And watch soccer. And use your gift cards. Okay, bye!
Bye!
Hey friends, thanks for listening to the CK and GK podcast. Find us at CK and GK podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or anywhere else that you pod. See you next time.